the weekend, but for some, it's a time to go to work, and that's what I am doing at about this point. Well, it is Global Morning Weekend, and it's great to be here, like I mentioned. And of course, the newspaper review will follow on the Global Morning Weekend at about this point. And then we'll be having some talks when it comes to women supporting women. Like we'll be looking at the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Imam Suleiman, and the gesture concerning gender-based violence. We'll be talking about that briefly. And of course, we will delve into the high cost of when it comes to transportation, electricity, and when it comes to food, and all of that encompassed. Remember, it's Global Morning Weekend. Do not go anywhere. Stay tuned. You are welcome back from that very short break. Like I said, thank God it's not Friday, but it's a weekend at about this point. Looking at women supporting women, especially when it has to do with gender-based violence. Some people will say, Jumai, it's not all about the women. Sometimes the men go through this particular abuse from women. Is it not making them weak, but the fact that they don't have that heart of hitting a woman, or they just take it all in? But some will say women are the weaker sex. So women should, it should be, the alarm should be raised in regards for women, and of course supporting women. But at the same time, let us look at, are there no better ways of actually, when it comes to conflict, is there no better ways of settling conflict? Do we have to raise our hands when it comes to issues like this? Now, in a heartfelt gesture of support, the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Imam Suleiman Ibrahim, presented a 1 million naira check and fully furnished apartment for 2 years to a survivor of gender-based violence. And of course, her mother, Rebecca Isong. Now, the presentation took place at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja, where the minister reaffirmed the government's commitment to protecting survivors of abuse and restoring dignity to victims of gender-based crimes. Now, our correspondent will be delving into that very short report. Stay tuned.
It was a moment filled with emotions and solidarity as the Ministry of Women Affairs extended financial support to a young girl whose life was altered by violence and trauma. The girl, whose identity is withheld for protection, is a survivor of rape, and she is now living with HIV. In a symbolic act of compassion and responsibility, the Minister of Women Affairs presented a check to the girl's guardian. The funds are meant to assist her with a medical treatment, education, and overall rehabilitation.
Today, we mark the transition into a more stable phase of reintegration. The ministry has secured and furnished safe accommodation for the family for 2 years and is empowering the mother with a 1 million grant to start a business, supporting their journey. Supporting their journey towards self-reliance. The survivor has also been enrolled into school to continue her education upon resumption. Upon the resumption of the third term academic session. We extend our deep appreciation to the Safe Haven Foundation for their unwavering partnership, and to His Excellency, President Bola Tinubu, GCFR, whose Renewed Hope agenda continues to prioritize the protection and development of women, children, families, and vulnerable groups across the country.
The ministry also assured that the girl will receive free counseling, continuous medical attention, and education support. It is part of a broader commitment to protect and empower survivors of abuse across the country. While speaking to journalists, the girl's guardian spoke on the rape antecedent.
For 2 years ago, I don't have money to pay for house because our father lived as a born baby girl. So I don't have money to pay for house. Then one woman directs me, take me to one elderly man. So then the man now help us for the house. So we are living there, we are staying there. I don't know, when I went to work in the morning before 5, the man will enter and carry towel and cover her mouth and rape her. So the man give her HIV. Then when they do the test, the doctor do the test, both the man, they ask the man said the sickness they in body for 26 years. And is that sickness he used to kill in wife. And he give many children, and 3 die after 3 months. So they put him inside. The children use money and bail him.
While the scars may take time to heal, today's gesture is a reminder that survivors are not forgotten and that every act of support brings them one step closer to reclaiming their future. Godwin Sunday, reporting for Global Television News.
Still on gender-based violence and women supporting women, I would say, if my co-host was here, he would tell you, Jumai Manson will always support women, which is true. I'm a woman, what do you expect? Especially when they are on their right. Now, looking at this report, it shows a sense of, there's this pity. And it's just unfortunate that many women do not survive gender-based violence. Maybe because the men will always overpower them, or because they have nowhere to go. A lot of women struggle and they still bear these particular acts because they have nowhere to go. And that is why it's important that mothers should always tell their female children how independent they can be at a very tender age, giving them that edge that they shouldn't rely on anyone. No one, you should not rely on anyone, especially even when you are vulnerable. You should not rely on anyone. You should have the integrity to walk away. You should have the integrity to say no. It might be hard, but it's better, and keeping that mental health intact is very important. Now, some people do not survive this. Now, she is very lucky. Isong is very, very lucky to survive. And of course, the Minister of Women Affairs, a very amazing gesture there by Mrs. Honorable Imam Suleiman Ibrahim for that 1 million naira check which was given. It's just unfortunate that many women and girls, they die in the hands of their prey. Unfortunately, this is where we find ourselves, especially when the men are, you know, people might say, I'm very careful with the words that I'm using right now, because I know some of my colleagues will say, Jubai, do not be against. I am not, because I know there's some men that go through this. I know there's some women that actually hit their husbands. Yes, they go through it. Some will tell them, you know, they set the rules and he follows. But, you know, like I said, the women are the weaker sex, and some do not survive this pitiful act that happens. Now, like I mentioned, today is a Saturday and a lot of weddings will be going on. A lot of people are exercising. How well do you take care of your health? A lot of individuals out there will want to exercise. But as Nigerians, we have a lot that we think about. Some will tell you might have better things to think about than to exercise. The hustle in which I do from Monday to Friday is enough to allow me to lose some weight. But it's not all about that. Sometimes you have to look within. Sometimes exercising, taking a walk will go a long way to keeping that health balance intact. Most Nigerians, most of us, most Africans do not take it very seriously. We feel, it's just for the white man. No. Your health is important. How often do you check your blood pressure? Very important. How else do you just sit down and just rest? Sometimes it's all about you moving from one point to another. It's all about sitting down and just meditating, closing your eyes and taking that relaxation process very seriously. Let's go on a very quick break now before the newspaper review segment comes up. Stay tuned.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews, latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Right, you are welcome from that very quick break. And at about this point, it is the newspaper review segment, and I'll be delving into the first paper of the day. And the first is the Saturday Vanguard, a newspaper. Above the nameplate, it says, "How killer herdsmen spread to Niger Delta seized Edo Forest." And you can find that read on page 12, and it says, "Flashpoints revealed, SOS to Okpebolo, Edo State." Unfortunate incident there. We hear some herdsmen come in the guise of hunters. Some will tell you that they come in just to perpetrate these evil acts. And of course, the flashpoints there is telling you about the red points that are there, most of the key areas where they hide and their spots to perpetrate these crimes. And of course, SOS, that's the stress of this call to Okpebolo, the Edo State governor, to keep watch and to do the needful. And it's very important that, of course, if you've traveled to Edo, Benin, there are lots of forests, so that forest needs to be combed out in order to fish out these evil perpetrators. And here it says on page 18, airline investment, why the world doesn't trust Nigeria. Have we gotten to that point? They say Nigeria is a corrupt nation, but I beg to differ. I feel, my own opinion that is, I think we have a lot to offer when it comes to, making that impact. Nigerians are out there in the outside the shores of Nigeria and making impact. We have one of the best doctors in America who is a Nigerian. We have petroleum engineers. We have individuals in politics who are Nigerians, and I just feel Nigerians have a lot to offer, but while the world doesn't trust us, I still beg to differ. Now, Rivers, it says women defy police protest against emergency rule, and you find that on page 16. NBA moves their conference from Rivers to Enugu in protest too. A lot of protests going on. Of course, we know the tussle that has been happening. Of course, the suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, and of course the administrator now taking charge of Rivers State. So let's just see how well this plays out, and at the long run, the most important thing is for peace to reign. And the star story of the Saturday Vanguard says, Atiku El-Rufai tumble while others hold meeting with Buhari in Kaduna. And you can find that read on page 6. And the star story there says, Trails as Adeleke, Uzodinma, Oberuri, Soludo, Yusuf, others win Vanguard Awards. We're celebrating outstanding achievement, Anaba, and of course the gathering is awesome. Peter side. Well, congratulations to these individuals. And here on the Saturday Vanguard, it says here, Oni of Ife, Oba Eniton Adeyeye Ogunwusi, presenting award to Governor Sheriff and of course Oberuri of Delta State. And here it says Chief Segun Osoba presenting Good Governance Award to Anambra State Governor Professor Charles Soludo. And it says General E.K. Wachuku presenting Vanguard Good Governance Award to Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano State. Amazing achievements there. And please go out and get yourself a copy of the Vanguard newspaper to be well impressed on issues making round. And next, of course, we have the Nation newspaper. And above the nameplate, it says Rivers emergency suits PDP governors yet to serve federal government AGF. And here it says Trump tariff, federal government sets up subcommittee to review impact, and you can find that read on page 5. And it says Tinubu U.S. envoy meets on regional security others. Now below the nameplate of the Nation's newspaper, it says fresh headaches for Atiku, El-Rufai, others over coalition. And here it says other parties should empty into PDP. And of course that's the National Secretary, and you can find that read on page 4. And it says 3 PDP governors may join APC rather than go with coalition. Atiku, El-Rufai, Tambowal, others pay post-Salah visit to Buhari. Wonder what that is all about. Maybe seeking advice, who knows. No panic over oil price dip, governors insist, and you can find that read on page 6. And here it says Nigeria's gas reserves rise to 21054 TCF, record 3728 BB crude oil condensate. And it says LASIK releases local government election timetable. You can find that read on page 7. Now here it says alleged drug deal, you have case to answer, court tells Kerry and others. And you can find that on page 2. Now talking about the late Mohbad here, it says another pathologist fails to determine cause of death, and that you can find on page 4. It's just unfortunate that we keep going back and forth with the death of Mohbad. Let's just may his soul rest in peace. And of course here the story that caught my head says alleged drug deal, you have case to answer in court, and that's telling Kerry and others when it comes to drug and drug deals. Like I said, for as much as a lot of individuals, drug is bad, substance abuse is very bad. It causes a lot of ills in the society. A lot of people can be on drugs and they can commit worst crimes that you can ever imagine. And to realize that some individuals, high class profile individuals, actually benefit from drug deals is just unfortunate that people actually make so much of money from millions or billions of naira when it comes to drugs and substance abuse. And it's just unfortunate that most people are dying from this and a lot of people are cashing out from this. It's just unfortunate there. But hope the needful is done basically, and hope individuals who are caught in this web should be brought to book. And here we have the Weekend Trust. And below the Weekend Trust, it says Tinubu spends 59 days in 8 trips to France. And there's a lot of controversy around Tinubu's traveling to France. He said the President Emmanuel Macron, he actually traveled. He was in Egypt at this point. And people will tell you, okay, and then who did our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu go to see if the President Emmanuel Macron was not in the country when he arrived? So there's a lot of controversies, but I will not delve into that. But let's just see. Maybe he went on. I wonder the bilateral relationship with other organizations in France, because the President Emmanuel Macron was all the way in Egypt at the cause of his arrival. So I don't want to delve into that, but who knows. And now you can find that read on page 9. And then on page 16 it says Zulum, Wike, Akpabio, Soludo, Buba Galadima in the news. Of course, it's no surprise. And you can find that read. Please go out and get your copy and know why they are in the news. And you can find that read on page 16 of the Weekend Trust. Femicide, 50 women murdered in Nigeria in 3 months. That is it. They say women are the weakest sex. That is why most women, when it comes to gender-based violence, when you look at the percentage, the affected gender is the women. I know someone might say, Juma, I beg to differ. It's a vis-a-vis issue, but truly, women, the percentage compared to the men, it is high when it comes to girls, when it comes to women. It's just something you might beg to differ, but that is the truth that I have said. Just that women are the weaker sex. It's just some women are tougher than some. Some women can actually stand up to these men and, make it look like they're the ones overpowering them. I'm trying to find the right word so that my colleagues will not wonder. But the truth is, at the same time, some men choose to just be quiet. But some will tell you that a woman is pushed to the wall because of, it's your action that creates a reaction. So if a woman acts the way she does, women are lovely women. They are women, I would say, they can be lovely when they want to be lovely. They can be very nice. But sometimes these men, some men, it's versa versa. Some women push their partners, their spouse, to the wall and make them react the way they do. But if you look at the percentage, women are more affected by gender-based violence than the men. So it's unfortunate that you see the record is telling you here. This might not be gender-based violence. It could be something else, but really it is on the high. Really, when it comes to issues of gender-based violence. And then, of course, the Star story there says opposition coalition should worry Tinubu, and that is in Duma. The opposition coalition should worry Tinubu. Well, Second Republic governors, the last men standing. All right, and below the Weekend Trust, we have here, it says here, internal crisis tops agenda as PDP governors meet in Ibadan tomorrow, that's Sunday. Era of aid, free money is gone for Africa, and that's Adesina saying that. And you can find that read on page 8. Free money gone. You have to go get yourself a copy of the Weekend Trust to be abreast with the news, make around to know why free money is gone in this era of Africa. Now let's move over to This Day newspaper, and above the nameplate of This Day newspaper it says federal government tightens nose on expatriate quota administration to enforce ban on visa overstay. It shows that the Trump administration is rubbing on every African nation. Everyone is trying their ways to be in line or center themselves around this visa ban, or when it comes to immigrants, immigration, all of that. And let's just see how well it plays out. And there are two riders here, and it says policy takes effect August 1st. Now, to implement comprehensive insurance scheme to cover deportation costs, personal liabilities. And then the Star story of before we get to the Star story, it says Fitch upgrades Nigeria to B rating, stable outlook on policy reforms. Okay. And then the Star story there says NUPRC, Nigeria's oil reserve, hits 37.28 billion barrels, gas 210.54 TCF in 2025. And the rider there says crude stock reduces marginally by 0.60%, gas rises to 0.61%. And then you have to go get yourself a copy of This Day newspaper to be well abreast on the stories making around, to be sure to be well informed. And then still moving on now, we have the Guardian newspaper here. And above the nameplate, of course, the FCT minister, Yusuf Wike, you can find the read where Wike introduces sweeping reforms on land allocation development in FCT. And you can find that read on page 2. And here it says, understanding multi-choice Nigeria's price adjustment, a necessity amid economic challenges. Really? Is it really a necessity amongst economic challenges? Because it's not pay as you go. The thing about that is whether you subscribe a month, whether you're there or you're not there, it's running. So is it really important? I think one should look at that, because really, when you talk about some of these service providers, are we really getting value for our monies when it comes to talking about repeated programs that is on that? But at the same point, let's just see how well this plays out. I just feel there should be a balance when it comes to our service providers. Very important. And then the star story on the Guardian newspaper, that's page 8 to 9. It says, why agric institutions impact on Nigerians' food security remains lean. Well, it remains lean because we have, despite agricultural institution impact, we still have lots of food scarcity, the high cost of food inflation. Hey, let's look at the insecurity that is making rounds in most states, and let's look at the food basket of the nation. I still will always draw back to Benue State, Ochupo. Of course, you can hear about the death toll that has happened, villages, individuals in the village that has been, people that have been killed, and that it cannot be overemphasized. Let's look at Jos. These are places where you get amazing crops. You know, when it comes to food, they are there. But unfortunately, with all of this insecurity making rounds, you can guess why. Unfortunately so. And then still on the Guardian newspaper, let's not forget the star story there with all of the food, the picture story there with all of the food, yet, like I mentioned, food security, and then it says agric universities, and yet there is hunger with all of this investments going into agriculture, and yet we still have hunger in the land. Still on the Guardian, it says here, Ibiyemi Olatunji Bello lawsuit has profound influence on its surrounding communities. And here it says MBA relocates 2025 yearly conference from Port Harcourt to Enugu. Yes, because of there are a lot of issues in Port Harcourt. So most people, it's a safer haven for now. It's not too far. We talk about Port Harcourt and Enugu, so it's just better to just be on the safe side, because we do not know what's going to happen with Port Harcourt River State. Time to restructure NTA, FRC, and VON, recover Daily Times. And then just go out and get yourself a copy to stay well abreast. Now, Shatima, governors, AGF, others, Grace Yusuf Ali's Tabanin as, I can't really see this, as Kalia Ingeri, and you can find that news on page 44 of the Guardian newspaper. And finally, we have the Saturday Punch, and it says, close to the nameplate, it says, women have right to enjoy, scream during, love making. Of course, that's Anita Joseph. I do not understand. Of course, I don't want to delve into that, but I think there is nothing wrong with that. Now, Jakpada, for individuals, if you're wondering what Jakpada is all about, those that have gone abroad and they've come back to Nigeria. It says Nigerians abroad return home amid dashed expectations. Why we are coming back, returnees. Now, resurgent terror attacks on Seto North, and the two writers says terrorists sack 250 communities, thousands displaced. How bandits replace imams, flog residents, local government officials say that. And it says, real reason mom chose our course, got into heavy debt. UI first class swing graduate. Amazing story there, which I will come back to that story. Now, police using my stolen car for patrol since 2015. 62-year-old machine operator. And you can find that read on page 2 of the Punch. And it says, why we banished men who sleep with other people's wives. Eleko of Elo Oba Alafi. And here it says, inside sizzling tales of Nigerians gym turned hookup hotbeds. Am I surprised? No, I am not. Now, cop stabs Ekiti man over girlfriend. Really? Really? Is it worth you going to jail? And at this point, let us start with this story from Anita Joseph. I think women have a right of expression. women can actually express themselves. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, basically. So it was traditional when parents, when they would tell you, you know, it's wrong for a woman to express herself because she has to be moderate. Oh, I'm trying to find the right word. She has to be decent. But I think if you're with someone, you should express yourself. Wives should express themselves. Now, Jackpot, the Nigerians abroad return home amid dash expectations. Like with all of these reforms by Donald Trump, it's enough for individuals to come back home and make the best of which they can. But the government needs to look at this critically so that most citizens will not jackpot and then jackpot. Like if the administration, it's just few. Most people would rather remain abroad and face whatever it is, because what Nigerians were hustlers, whatever it is, we'll look at how I'm moving my head, so you know that whatever it is, we'll always get by. That is the training. That's the strong will, or will I say zeal, that we have as Nigerians. No matter what is going on, everything is going to be fine. But for those that decide to come back, if the country was, you know, balance when it comes to structures, when it comes to employment, when it comes to good cost of livelihood, you know, for everyone abroad would tell you, Nigerians, we don't have structure, we don't have this, a lot of things are going on, there's so much corruption. But if there were less of that and things were moving on smoothly, I don't think anyone would want to travel abroad. The only time you want to travel abroad is just to go for vacation and come back. But some will want to stay because a lot of things are not moving as they ought to here in Nigeria. And I think the government needs to look into that very importantly. It's just unfortunate that most of our best hands, when it comes to the health sector, I know all sectors are important, but health, which has to do with life, like yesterday we read that 50,000 nurses leave. If you look at it every year, that's a lot. And then if 50,000 nurses are leaving in a year, how many is that? Sorry, I'm not good with maths. But at the same time, if you look at it critically, how many do we have left? If things are put in place, if a lot of things, like Nigerians believe in what we can see, not the figures in which you're telling us. I know this administration is not doing badly when it comes to, there's some things that we might not know, but there are things that are coming in shape. But we need to feel the impact. A lot of people need to feel. It's as little as when I go to the market and I can afford something that was 10,000 and I get it at 5,000 naira. At least I felt that impact. Most people do not understand figures, and that's why many people are, will I use the word, that jackpot is on the high. Most people want to leave because they feel that nothing is working in this country. But let's be positive, please, and the government really needs to look into that. For individuals that have stayed abroad and they want to jackpot that, have they thought about what they're going to start from? Maybe they have their plans, but at the same time, we need to make our country great again, because most of our best hands are abroad and making impact, and they are recognized and given the right amount of, you know, the right amount of benefits. You'll be surprised. That's why most doctors, I'm not even talking about doctors, I'm talking about nurses now. They are all important. But at the same time, the benefits in which they get abroad cannot be compared to what they get here. Like here, when you talk about the health sectors, most of their salaries are being held back. You go to a hospital and you see a doctor that has been there for almost 3 days attending to patients, and you think that he's not going to make mistakes. Really? And this has to do with life. It's very important. So I think we need to put our money where our mouth is. Very importantly, it's, you know, the benefits to be given to all professions are important, but you know, there are some that are higher than some. You can't take that away. When it comes to health, when it comes to education, there are some that are really high because it creates impact. It forms the, you know, when you look at the future leaders, when you come to talk about the educational sector, and they need to be well informed and, you know, put in place for us to, you know, rule when it's their time. That's our future generations. But at the same time, we need to understand that it should be something that it should be a serious problem that a lot of people are leaving this country, and some, very few, are actually coming back. To what? And that's why with the rate of unemployment and all of that, we see a lot of crime rates. A lot of crime rates. And then some of these individuals who are bandits, who decide to take a new leaf, and they tell you, why did you go in? They'll tell you because they needed something to provide for their families, and that was the easy way out. Because crime, for some, crime is so beautifully placed. They give them a lot of money, and they are willing to sacrifice their life just to feed their family, which is not an excuse, by the way, because you're actually taking life in that process to feed yours. It's just unfortunate that people do not really understand that. But I think a lot of structures need to be put in place. A lot of benefits should be given, so that individuals will not have to, to unstable someone in this way. It's just unfortunate that most Nigerians do not have their papers abroad, and they are just praying and hoping that Donald Trump will just change his mind into something else. But it's just unfortunate that you have to go. Most people actually sold all they have just to go abroad, and then you come back, and then it's just unfortunate, basically. Now let us talk about the gym. At the beginning, as if I knew that there's going to be a story talking about inside sizzling tale, Nigeria's gyms turn hookup hotbeds. Like I mentioned it, I said, for those of you out there who go to the gym for genuine reasons, to actually lose weight, burn calories, and to stay abreast with your figure, your shape, but some use it as an avenue for hookups. You see, you'll be surprised that people wear, some very tight expose things, and they use it to fight. But is a gym really a place where you can find a stable relationship, really? Looking at it, because you can see everything. Are you going to find love? You're going to find loss. It depends on the angle in which you're looking at it. I think we need to talk about that. But people use that as an avenue, as a hookup area to just meet the right person. Maybe he has amazing biceps, he's tall, he's dark, he's handsome, and she's very petite, or she has a nice figure. That's the first thing you see. Do you really, I don't, men, women, we all have our various spice, so it depends. But at the same time, we need to look into that. Now, this particular story, real reason mom chose our course, got into heavy debt. UI first class twin graduates who were awarded a very touching story there. They lost their dad, and their mom took the bull by the horn to actually train them and all of that, and they were the best. These are kids that understood that their mom had to step up. She had to step up, and they had to do justice. God on their side to make the best in which they could do by coming out with first class. Amazing story there. Now, the one that cracks me up on the Punch newspaper is police using my stolen car for patrol since 2015. 62-year-old machine operator. Like, really, are you kidding me? I think that we should look into that. And here it says, why we banish men who sleep with other people's wives. Well, there are so many women out there, really. Why would you want to do that? Well, who knows? A lot of people have fetch. It depends on the angle in which you're looking at it. Now, at this point, I have to wrap it up on the newspaper review segment. Please go out and get yourself a copy to be well abreast with the news making rounds. Of course, a lot of things that you can learn from the newspaper review segment. Go out and get yourself a copy. And stay tuned. Global Morning Weekend continues shortly. Let's go on a very short break. Don't go anywhere.
Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews, latest news with experts on key global issues,
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Right now, thank you also for being a part of the program Global Morning Weekend with me today. Hope you had an amazing time with me today. And at the same point, I'll just leave us with this particular note. Exercise is important. It doesn't matter wherever, what means, what it applies to you basically, but it's very important that you exercise. It's very important you watch your calories. It's very important to just know the right thing. You do not know where you meet that nice person or that nice partner. It depends, like I mentioned, but you know, it's a place to just make friends and do the needful. When I mean do the needful, exercise, that's what I mean. And at the same time, let's stay security cautious, very important, and let's keep a positive mind. I know that all is going to be fine, and know that in Nigeria at the moment, for African countries not to trust us, in our hearts we know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And with this, I will have to wrap it up on the program Global Morning Weekend. Thank you all so much for being a part of the program with me. I am Jumai Manson. Go out and get yourself a copy of the newspaper to be more abreast with issues making round. Stay connected to Global Television on DSTV channel 365, and of course on your Apple and iOS store with our app device. Have an amazing day ahead. Keep watching Global Television. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to For sure. If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.